Well, okay, everyone, let's go ahead and start. My name is Anisa. I'm Education USA advisor in Tajikistan. I already have told you about, what is Education USA is, but just to remind, Education USA is the official source of US higher education, and we are here to help those who wants to study in US. So if you are motivated and would like to continue your education and receive your higher education in United States, and you need help, we have been designed to help you with the process and to answer to all your questions. Right now, Education USA Tajikistan is works virtually, but doesn't mean that we do not consult or do not advise. No, you can email us, you can call us, you can chat, message us on Facebook, Instagram, and we will be there to respond to your questions and explain you the process. Today, we will talk about financing your education in US. We will talk about what do you pay for while you are in United States, right? And how to afford that cost of attendance. So let's just wait maybe 1 more minute for some people to join, and then I will go ahead and start. If you guys will have any questions, just make sure you type them in comments. If you need some translation or stuff, also let me know. I will try to translate. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and start. So, paying for your education, cost of going to university in USA, right? Um, so when we think about studying in US, and we think the first word you guys have to know, it's called cost of attendance. And the cost of attendance is the average annual cost you pay to attend a particular college or university. Basically, it's everything you pay for while you study at that university. And cost of attendance includes tuition, room and board, books, supplies, and other expenses. I will let you know in details what each of this element means. But as you see, cost of attendance, your overall cost, which you pay annually or which you spend for your basic needs at university, okay? So the first big payment you will face while you are in the college, it's tuition fee. Basically, tuition fee, it's amount you pay for your studies, right? For the classes you take in the university. And tuition fee is either calculated as a flat rate. Basically, you pay the same amount of money every year, despite the number of courses you take, or it's calculated by number of credits or by number of courses you take. For instance, if in spring semester, you take less courses than in summer semester, then in spring you pay less, and in summer you pay more. But usually, in majority of universities, they prefer to have tuition fee as a flat rate, so you pay the same number, the same amount of money, despite of number of courses you take. Okay. Of course, I mean they have some limitations in terms of how many credits you can take, but it's you have to know a lot of details to think about that. But basically, you pay either the flat rate, so maybe 20,000 every year, or you pay like 10,000 during spring semester and then 15,000 during summer semester because you took more classes. And as you can see, average tuition for the 2021 in different US colleges varies. For instance, you guys, you will be paying as international students, and you pay out of state amount, which is much higher than if you, for instance, were a citizen of US. So if you go to a public university which is funded by the government, where money comes from the government, in the public universities, average tuition fee per year, average amount you spend for the tuition may vary. It may be more than the 35,000, it may be less than 35,000, right? Second cost you guys will bear when you study in US, it's actually your room and board, right? Basically, amount of money you pay for like your life in US, for the apartment you rent, or maybe for the dormitory, right, you live in, and for your food expenses. It's called room and board. And if you can see, for instance, this money will also be much higher than you used to spend. For instance, if for tuition you would pay like 20,000 per year, for the room and the board you may end up paying minimum 7-8 thousand per year and higher, depending on the state you live in, right? So for instance, if you live in New York City or in San Francisco, very expensive cities, of course your room and board will be much higher, whereas if you would live in some small city in suburbs. Okay. Okay. Besides that, when you go to the US college, you will face other expenses as books, supplies, transportation, and personal expenses. So in US, when you study in US college, you need to purchase books annually, and there will be a certain amount of money you will spend. And based on this graph, we can see that in average, students spend around $1,000 for books and supplies every year. For the personal expenses, for instance, which are here in brown, you can see that usually students, and by personal expenses, they mean like, for instance, what if you go to the movies or you need to buy some clothes or you need to buy, I don't know, some shampoo or whatever it is. In average, students spend $3,000. But of course, it depends on the student, right? Some will face while you are in US. However, I don't want you to be scared by the numbers, okay? Because these numbers can be decreased and they can be decreased a lot, but and we'll talk about it later. But for now, for instance, for you guys, at least to go to US and to be able to study in US, you already have to have some savings in order to get closer to your dream. And let's now talk about the costs you will face before you actually will be accepted in US university. And the costs you have to think right now, so you can actually realize your dream and you can apply to US university. So before you actually go to US, you need to apply to the university, right? And to apply to the university, the first thing you will need to do, you will need to take the standardized tests like TOEFL, IELTS, SAT, GMAT, GRE, depending on the degree you want to take. So if you talk about undergraduate students, your first biggest expenses will be like TOEFL or IELTS or SAT test. All those tests cost more than $100. So for instance, TOEFL test, SAT costs 100, IELTS costs $225. So you see, you need to have this amount in your pocket. So unfortunately, for instance, there is no way to not to take this test, but there's also like some ways to reduce the cost of those tests. For instance, instead of TOEFL or IELTS, you can take Duolingo test. And Duolingo test is accepted by many universities now, and it costs like $49. If you, for instance, do not want to spend money for the SAT test, you don't have this extra $100, then you can actually apply to test optional universities or universities which do not require SAT. Okay, so there are ways to decrease this cost. Next, you also have to remember that to apply to US university, you will need to pay the application fee. Application fee, it's amount of money you pay to university for them to review your documents. It depends on university. Amount of application fee depends on university. So for instance, highly ranked universities may charge you $90 or $85, but there are like a lot of US universities which do not charge you any application fee. And application fee there is zero. So when you will be creating your college list, you need to check to how many schools you're applying, what are their application fees. So you need to discuss this like with your parents or maybe with your, I don't know, partner to make sure you have this funds to apply to US university. Okay. Next, you also will need to cover yourself the cost of visa, service fee, air tickets, and insurance. US universities will never pay for these expenses, okay? For the insurance, it may be up to a case, but cost of visa, service fee, and air tickets, usually in many cases, this is covered by students. That's why you also have to bear this in mind that even if, for instance, you will win a full scholarship which covers your room and board and tuition, there are still going to be expenses like cost of visa and air tickets, which you need to pay yourself. Okay, that's why make sure you also calculate it in advance and you have it, in your backpack, I don't know, or somewhere to pay later. Okay, so and this is when you think about this step about paying for your education, it's actually very, very, very important step. And if you don't think about it in advance, the result may be that, for instance, you got accepted to university of your dream, but you cannot go there because you haven't planned your finances. You haven't planned how you're going to pay for your education. That's why this is something you need to think early, very early. As soon as you decide to apply somewhere, you need to start thinking how you're going to finance your education. And you have to ask yourself several questions. For instance, you talk about your plans with your parents. Are you willing to pay full amount yourself, or are you going to, for instance, uh, you know, um, are you going to apply for a scholarship? This is the questions you need to ask yourself. Also, you need to know, for instance, okay, if I'm applying to university in September, for instance, right, and results will be in December, can I, for instance, have enough time to fund it further or not? So there are things like this which you need to think about and you need to consider. Okay. And when you think about this kind of amounts, these numbers may be scary, right? Because I showed you 20,000, 50,000, 70,000, and you may be very scared in terms of, okay, how I'm going to apply, how I'm going to cover these expenses. And here's also how, as I told you before, you can minimize your expenses by a lot if you start planning this financing very, very early. Okay, so let's think about how we're going to decrease all the expenses we have. The first thing you can actually apply for the financial aid at US universities. There are different financial aid offered by US universities, but usually there are two main ones, right? Which is need-based financial aid or merit-based financial aid. When you search for university and you search for financial aid, make sure you spend a lot of time reading about the different aid they have, about different grants or scholarship they have. Based once more, they just look at your family income. They don't care about your grades, about your status, about your achievements. All they care about is the income you have and the gap, for instance, between the income you earn and the amount of tuition fee, right? However, you have to understand a lot of students apply for the need-based scholarship, and usually need-based scholarship is very rarely when it's 100%. So if you look for a higher amount of a scholarship or higher amount of financial aid, probably the alternative will be to apply for the merit-based aid. Because at merit-based aid, they look at you. They don't care whether you're rich or poor. They care about how smart you are or how talented you are, which achievements you have. So they look at you, at your skills, and decide whether big amount of scholarships, which are more than like 80 or 90%. In that case, make sure you search for merit-based scholarships, right? Or merit-based financial aid, or you can, find need-blind universities. In that case, need-blind universities, if they want to have you at their campuses, they will make sure they will finance your studies. And even if the gap between how much you can pay and how much university's tuition is very large, need blind universities will try to help you to be there and study at their schools. Also, except the scholarships which are offered directly by university, there are some outside scholarships, right? Some organizational scholarships. And it really depends on the country you come from, and it really depends on the degree you want to receive. For instance, if you guys want to study at graduate school, like you want to do your master's degree, then if you come from Tajikistan, you can apply for the like Fulbright scholarship program, right, which covers all your expenses, including visa, tickets, tuition, and room and board. But it's highly competitive. Except the Fulbright, for instance, there are like Asian Development Bank scholarship, World Bank scholarship, which help you to finance your studies in US. You can also search for small grants like grants for women or grants for in IT sphere. But usually those grants are very small and they will cover just partially just some of your expenses, but they're not gonna cover the whole amount of your studies. But in that case, you can combine the aid you receive from university with the outside scholarship you have got. But we also, like, whenever you apply to the outside scholarship, we always recommend that you study that scholarship very well. You know exactly what kind of scholarship it is, which organization does its scholarship, why, and etc. So, okay, so you won't be trapped. Okay, and it's possible. Also, for instance, there's a very great well, how to say. So, for instance, when you guys graduate American University in US, you can actually participate in the optimal practical training. It's called OPT program, which says that you have a right to extend your visa for 1 year and to work in a US company within your field, right? So, for instance, if you have studied accounting and you have graduated US college and you have US diploma, then you can extend your visa for 1 year and you can actually work in a big US company or corporations, but you have to work as accountant. And in that case, you can also, for instance, if you have taken some loans or credits, or maybe I don't know, your parents have taken some loans to help you to pay for your education. When you do your OPT, you actually start earning money, and you can use that money to repay your loans or credits, or maybe, to save some more and then continue your education to the graduate level or doctorate level, depending on which level you have taken first. And you can do OPT after every graduation. For instance, if you finished community college, you can do your OPT with your associate degree. Then if you finished 4-year college and you received your bachelor's, you can do OPT again. Then if you finished master's, you can do OPT again. So it's a very good thing to consider, because first of all, you will get the experience in US, which is related to your field. And second of all, it will help you to pay back some of your loans or debts, or maybe to save in order to invest in your future education. Okay. Okay. So where you guys, one of the most popular questions we usually receive is, do you know universities with a full scholarship? We do, but we do know the universities with good scholarships, and we do post the information about them on our social media like Facebook and Instagram. We try to update you weekly about universities with different scholarships. But if you guys are really, really eager to study in US and you search for the scholarships, I would highly recommend you to look, first of all, our website, EducationUSA State Gov. We have a financial aid section there, and there you will find the list of different universities with different scholarships for different levels, like for the bachelor's, graduate, undergraduate. Also, we will recommend you to search College Board website or Finding Study US website, uh, which also offers a lot of opportunities with good financial aid for US universities. If you are very lazy to search, then just subscribe to our Facebook and Instagram pages, because we do post every week. For instance, I posted this morning the university with a full scholarship for international student. So go ahead and check. Also, the best place to, for instance, on different websites, which are College Board, Education USA, the information you will find about the scholarship will be very short, right? It will not be that descriptive. The best place to find out the information with all the details and how to apply and deadlines is actually US University website. So go ahead and study the websites of the university in details to learn more about the scholarships and application processes. Also, there's so many right now, like different educational platforms you can use, like YOS opportunities, right? Those scholarship positions, research fellows. Of course, these platforms have a lot of information about programs and not just about the studies, right? They have conference and etc. But you can actually filter the information there, and you can specifically search for colleges in US with a good financial aid. So I would highly recommend you to research, research, and research, and then you will find the information you need. Okay. So this was it from my side. Thank you very much. Let's just now have a Q&A. If you guys have any questions. I saw one question, I think. Just type them in and I will try to respond. Okay. Okay, let me just check. So we have one question and it says, hello, does honey... Okay, I guess the question asks whether there are any program for students who want to study abroad. Well, yes, there are a lot of programs for students who want to study abroad. It depends on a degree, right? So, for instance, if you are a high school student, you can apply to the Flex program. Well, you're a bit late. Flex program, the first round has already finished. But if you, for instance, study in university, then you can apply for the UGRAT exchange program. UGRAT exchange program is for the university students. That's why, and I think it's not open yet. So you can you wait for the application and then apply. You can also apply for different summer programs yourself. So many US universities offer summer programs for international students where you come and study there a couple of weeks. For instance, maybe you take some courses in English, or maybe you just improve your English language, right? So it depends on the university and on the program you want to take. There are many like research short-term programs. If you guys are like graduate students, you can apply for the short-term positions at research universities, for instance, to do some research. And it's also available, but it's all limited, right? It's exchange. So you go there for minimum like 6 months, maximum a year, and then you have to come back and continue your education. Okay, so I think that's it. Then let's wait for a couple more minutes. If you guys will have questions, I'll be happy to respond. If no, then the session will be ended. Okay, I guess we have no questions. Then thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions, just find us on Facebook. It's Education USA Tajikistan. Email us or call us. We will be happy to respond. And we'll talk to you tomorrow and after tomorrow. We'll have two sessions. No, I'm sorry. We will have two sessions with the university. So one will be tomorrow and one will be after tomorrow. So make sure to join. Thank you. Bye-bye.